Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for checking out the channel. Tobin here with you. Appreciate you guys stopping by. If you could, subscribe to this channel and subscribe over to the WQAM channel, Tobin and Leroy, weekdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Got a special guest coming up on Friday. Very excited to talk some NBA Finals with, but I'll leave that to the element of surprise for all of you guys. But we got the NBA Finals. We are, as I'm recording this, 24 hours away, give or take, from tip-off by a few minutes. So want to get in the official preview prediction from everybody and get set for this Miami Heat versus Denver Nuggets series, which, I mean, I listened to a lot of media day today and a lot of mutual respect between these two teams, a lot of admiration for these two teams. Eric Spoelstra was actually talking about this series, and just the idea that he thinks that they see a lot of themselves in the Denver Nuggets. Here was Spo.
I don't know why maybe the mainstream media have kind of slept on Denver, but when we saw them in the bubble, we thought, all right, this team is going to be doing basically what they're doing this year, then up until now. We thought this would be a run for a long time. If Murray didn't get hurt, they probably would have already had a couple finals berths. I mean, that's how great of a duo they are, and the system that Mike and his staff have built, it just really fits. So I think we all think they're legit. And in some ways, it's a mirror image, series, not in terms of style, but teams that probably have been overlooked, underestimated, build a chip on their shoulder over that. So it's lined up, to be a great competition.
I agree, man. I can't wait for this series. This is a fun series. It's interesting because this is kind of the first series. Doesn't have a whole lot of animosity at all. Not that the other ones did, but I do think that the Heat, listen, there's a past with all of them, right? Like with Boston, I mean, what else has to be said? 3 out of 4 Eastern Conference Finals. That stuff is, right there by itself. Same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks, 3rd series in 4 years. A lot of domination on both sides of it, as far as you had a gentleman's sweep, then a sweep, and then back to the Heat taking it in 5 and really shaking the NBA world up right from that moment. You talk about, sending Giannis out and him redescribing the merits of failure and then firing Mike Budenholzer. And I think really for the Miami Heat, and that moment proving to everybody, hey, we can hang with absolutely anybody. And it's not that Denver doesn't provide its own challenges. And I think in a lot of ways where Milwaukee's almost like the defensive, overwhelming version of Denver on the offensive side. Denver has so many options, so many weapons. It's not that Milwaukee doesn't have weapons, but I think when everybody looks at them, you're like, well, how do we crack this nut? How do we get around this? How do we score enough to survive? How do we deal with that Twin Towers? How do we get around Drew Holiday, all that stuff? And in Denver, it's like, all right, well, how do we slow them down? How do we get to that level? But in the end, I mean, Miami has shown themselves such a great ability in all of these series to not only figure out their opponents, but to almost turn that opponent's strength into their strength and really expose their weaknesses. Denver provides its own challenges, defines its own uniqueness, and a lot of that starts obviously with their 2-time, maybe should have been 3-time, most valuable player in Nikola Jokic. The guy is absolutely a stud. Could tell you is a guy who's gone to get. I don't get to watch. We don't get to watch him a ton down here, but I've gone to the last 2 Denver games down here in Miami. Guy's a menace. I mean, he's so damn good. He dictates the pace of the game, does whatever the hell he wants, it feels like. And, you have to be just so disciplined to defend him, and even then you might not get anything out of it. I think with Bam does such a great job with anticipation on guys and knowing where they're going to go or cutting off their lanes. And I think with the thing with like Jokic or even a Luka Doncic, they play at such a pace. I remember Bam talking about this after the matchup they faced. It's just like, you got to just, he's so damn patient. He'll always just wait for that damn move and find something. So I'm not ignoring that, man. Like there's not a whole lot of disrespectful stuff you could say about Jokic other than his brothers wear too tight Ed Hardy t-shirts. But as far as that guy is concerned, he's an absolute monster. Now that Murray is back to form, we've seen what kind of electric stuff that he can do. Aaron Gordon, remember Aaron Gordon on so many Magic matchups, and you were never like, Aaron Gordon, like you never like took him seriously as a star. Then he got all sensitive with the D-Wade dunk contest, but has found himself such a niche in Denver with the defense that he's able to provide that team. Michael Porter Jr., talent up the wazoo, adds just more size to this challenge that Miami's got to face. Their role players in KCP, and they provide a lot of challenges. They got a lot of depth, and I do agree with Spo. Like it's funny how you have two teams here that haven't gotten their just due. I think, with Denver, it's probably more of a, hey, we've had the best player in the world, and it does feel like Giannis gets his flowers. Joel Embiid, I mean, certainly everybody makes every excuse under the sun for him. And with Jokic this year, I kind of get any Denver fan that was like, hey, it kind of feels like our guy was, steamrolled by an anti-Joker campaign. And I kind of dug how Michael Malone was calling out the media for it. I like that. I'm a guy who notices the Heat disrespect, and was Spo saying that. He goes, we can relate to that our guys don't necessarily see themselves being seen around the league. And so definitely, I think a series that has a lot of mutual respect for each other. Nobody's biting into storylines. They were even asking today. They were asking about the old incident from a couple of years ago where Jokic blindside hits Markieff Morris. I will say, listen, Joker can do some dirty things out there. That's certainly stuff that you got to work out for and look out for, and the seeing if they can agitate him at all and seeing what that's like. We know what a kerfuffle that happened with the brothers being mad stuff, and then you have the cold ass picture of Andy Ellisberg blocking Jimmy, Bam, Kyle Lowry from the Nuggets locker room from a couple years ago. But I mean, it's a year ago. I don't think anybody. I don't think any of that stuff is going to bleed in. I think a lot of that stuff just happens in the midst of a series. We saw in this one with the Celtics, it's like the Grant Williams thing kind of came out of nowhere. Jimmy definitely has been in his definitely has shown emotions. I think more so in this year than any other year. Like we've seen tastes of it in previous years, but this has been one where he really seems like he's digging into opponents and trying to do stuff. And so, this is going to be one of those where Miami, I think, it's going to challenge a lot of people into saying like, all right, we've seen what these guys can do and winning in the margins. We've seen these guys have been able to shoot the absolute lights out. Will they be able to keep up and have the firepower? I mean, I'm not putting anything past this Heat team, man. I'm sorry. Like, I got all the respect for Denver in the world. I expect everybody in the world to pick against Miami. I get it. You guys have been doing that the entire time anyway. But as soon as this team beat Milwaukee was the perennial title favorite anyway. For me, that sealed it that they can beat anybody, and they dealt with them quite easily. They got off to a commanding lead against the Boston Celtics. They out-toughed the New York Knicks and did that with a hobbled Jimmy Butler. So I'm very aware of all the things that Denver can bring to the table. But one of the things that I do find interesting, and this was brought up with it was a big theme with questions today, was about the altitude. And the one thing that I found interesting about it, I felt almost like Denver was trying to play head games through the media, was trying to say, oh, it's a thing. The altitude's a thing. The altitude is a thing. And look, I know on road trips, that illegal air that they play with, it is almost like cheating at certain times. It's like, oh, you're off at LA and then you got to finish off a road trip in Denver. Like, what kind of crap is that? No wonder the home record is so good. But you get some time to settle in. You'll get some time there to get used to it. But I think the thing that was interesting about the Heat, Eric Spoelstra just had this crazed demeanor about himself and the team, where he's just like, we're not even thinking about it. Do whatever. I don't care what the elements are. Drop us off in parachutes. That's been his thing. That's been his rallying cry, no matter what. And in a way, you got to like respect it because every single one of these series, they've had to start on the road. You know, they've had a lot of success on the road. They've taken home court advantage in every single one of these series, no matter if it was in Milwaukee, no matter if it was in the Garden, no matter if it was in their timeshare of Boston, which has really become a home away from home. I mean, that's not even a difficult place for them to play anymore because they're so used to it. Michael Malone was trying to like say he was talking about this and saying like, oh, they want to get the altitude. They gotta use that to their advantage.
With a guy like Jimmy, you got to give him different looks. I mean, you cannot guard him with the same player or the same scheme over a game, over 4 quarters, or a series, and that's going to be a challenge to give him different looks and to keep him off the foul line. You know, he's third in the playoffs in free throw attempts per game. I think around 9.1. We know a lot of their guys are real big shot fake players, so the discipline to stay down, be the second man off the floor, give them one shot is going to be really important. And the last thing I would say is that we have to continue to get out and run. You know, we're second in the playoffs on fast break points per game. In our 2 head-to-head meetings, we only averaged 9.5 fast break points against them, which is our 3rd lowest against our 29 opponents. So getting pace, getting fast break, getting attack, getting altitude into this series while home will be really important.
So I was like, that's such an odd thing to bring up out of nowhere. Get altitude into this series. It's like, all right, I get that it exists, but like the coach is bringing that up. Like we got to get out and run and get them tired. It's like, all right. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be a factor or not, that you're going to have a Heat team that you're going to be able to wear down with altitude. And certainly Miami is not breaking on that stuff at all. They don't give a rat's ass about altitude or any of that stuff. Even with them trying to bring that up and see if that is a thing. And this is Jimmy Butler on how he deals with altitude.
Nah, I just be drinking some water, listen to some music. I think that's the formula. You just got to listen to music, drink water, drink wine, play spades, and dominoes.
Exactly, dude. I mean, we all know that. We all know that is the key to not dealing with thin air and any of that nonsense that's going on. Water, wine, spades, dominoes. And obviously he's not talking about the pizza, right? The game, dude. So I don't know. I just found that kind of an interesting thing. Like that is to me, that was almost like I don't know if it's a head game thing from Michael Malone. I don't know if that's a hope from a Michael Malone. I just found it interesting. Like unprovoked is just like, yeah, we got to get altitude in him. I'm just like, really? That's you guys are going to do that thing. And he mentions the whole thing about getting out and running. Like that has been, we've seen with Miami. They take care of the basketball. God, are they hard to beat. I mean, they are so, if Miami is able to take care of the basketball and not make those silly mistakes, which gets home teams, especially teams with high-powered offense. We saw this against the Celtics. If Miami can take care of the basketball, man, they're difficult to beat. On this side of things, that with Denver, it's going to be interesting to see with the size. They are a very big team. With Porter, with Gordon, with Joker, obviously. So I would expect. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami goes back to starting Kevin Love in this series. Be interesting to know if there'd be if Spo will take Strus out if he goes with Kevin Love, or if he'll stick with Caleb Martin back to the bench and then play that card if he feels like he has to go to it. But the emergence of Caleb Martin, and when I say this, I mean like even more to I think Heat fans know how excellent he's been, but like I think everybody's being wowed by what this guy is doing game in and game out. I don't know if you want to limit the minutes on that. Whereas I do think Max Strus has been a little bit more up and down, but that may have been dictated by the series that he just played. So the one thing I would say is, Strus has been used to it a little bit more, but, has been used to his role changing too. But I would guess if he's going to go with Kevin Love in the starting lineup, I would guess he'd go back to Caleb coming off as a reserve, especially to supplement any non-Jimmy minutes. I think that they've found some good quality there. Cody Zeller could see back to him. I mean, he has had some real struggles lately. I don't know if you could play him in Joker minutes. If Joker sits, then maybe you go to a Zeller. This could be one of those things similar to Philly series. I know Denver fans, they're like, oh, Philly, Embiid, don't you dare mention Embiid. Similar to Philly series with Embiid, like Bam, Embiid, they'll match minutes. Like it's, Spo will change his subs out a little bit, especially as the game goes on. So if Joker does sit, Bam will sit, and then bring him back in. Man, it's going to be a tough series for Bam. This is one of those things where I think a lot of the fans are, getting on him for his offensive performances. I hope really, people realize what he's got on what task at hand he has in anchoring this defense and this type of high-powered offense. That being said, they gotta be able to, I do think that Bam does need to get to some comfortable spots and see some buckets drop. If it's not a 20-point-a-game series for Bam, if he could find a way to get you 15, listen, if Bam could somehow dictate his own stuff on Joker, maybe get him in some foul trouble every now and then. He's got to be able to take advantage of that stuff too. But it's going to be a team effort. It's going to be a lot of different coverages that Spo's going to swing at things. He doesn't like to keep anything just vanilla on these, and I do think that I'm very surprised what this coaching matchup's going to be, man. You got two real great coaches here. Obviously, I think that you always got the coaching advantage when you have an Erik Spoelstra, but I think this is as formidable a matchup as you could get against him. And the other interesting thing that's going to be there with advantages, like people are talking about home court advantage, altitude, all that. I'll tell you one thing that's going to be interesting. Miami. Here's why I say that. Jokic, that dude likes to party in Miami. I mean, loves it. And there's going to be some days off down here. This is not your run-of-the-mill, one day off, one day breaks between everything. You got some time to marinate a little bit. You'll have the game on Sunday, and then what are they not playing again until Wednesday, I think? So you got a Wednesday, Friday, like a little time to marinate down here. You know those Jokic brothers are going to be knocking at his door to come in. Let's go party at Live. Let's go to 11. Let's go get some Astron. You want to talk about advantages? Don't sleep. Don't sleep on what Miami's able to bring to the table there. I'm just saying, dude. The other thing that we got to watch out for, too, is Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is maybe looming as a return. There's reports that he's targeting Game 3. And I got to say, for all the bullshit that Tyler Hero's had to hear from fans, pundits, I think he could be huge in this series. If he's good to go, and I'm curious, I got some people I want to ask about this, but any kind of more offensive punch that they can get in this series, I think is a big deal. The facilitating, the havoc, the unknown of what he can bring. How has he watched this? How has Tyler Hero grown from just watching this experience? And not only to mention that, I think Tyler Hero's probably heard a lot of the chirping, and this has been a chip on your shoulder team. I think we saw this with Duncan Robinson, man. Duncan Robinson heard a lot of trash from everybody. All this, all that. Look how he has come out, the mentality that he has brought to the table. Cup in his ear like Hulk Hogan, which, man, that was a funny story. I mean, if you haven't heard his anecdote on the JJ Redick Old Man of the 3 podcast, you got to check that out. That stuff was hilarious. But yeah, man, I think this is going to be a great series, a fun series. Interested to see what the adjustments are going to be. But look, I heard one thing today, one thing from the head coach that made me go, they got this, dude. Like, they got this. I really do think, I think Denver's in trouble. Quite frankly, I think they're in trouble, dude. And this was when Erik Spoelstra started off. It was first question was about the altitude. And this was Erik Spoelstra's response. And I got to say, dude, I wanted to run up a mountain for Erik Spoelstra after he said this.
We're not even getting into any of that stuff. Our guys are in great shape. They're ready to compete. If Denver wants to tip this thing off at the top of Everest, we'll do that. This thing is going to be decided between the 4 lines. They also got to come back to Miami if we want to make it about that. We'll turn off the air conditioning. They got to play in 90-degree humidity, sap the S out of their legs. This thing is going to be decided between those 4 lines, and we'll decide it then.
Goosies galore, dude. Goosies on top of goosies from Erik Spoelstra, the beautiful maniac. He has been crazed in this playoffs. And I think that he can't wait to see what his team does against another opponent. Think about this run the Heat could finish off, man. You're talking about 3 of the best teams in the league that they would be able to just polish off on their way to the Larry O'Brien Trophy when everybody laughed in their face, calling them undrafted, calling them not good enough. saying Jimmy Butler, he's not a true superstar. He's a playoff player, not a true superstar. You know, Bam Adebayo, what's he as far as a running mate is concerned, even though they've been to 3 Eastern Conference Finals together. Caleb Martin, cute story. What'd you meet? J. Cole, beautiful. Kevin Love, washed. Kyle Lowry, washed. Tyler Hero, you're out. That makes things better for your team. You weren't even that good anyway. Look, Jack Harlow left you. He doesn't even like you in the first place. Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, you guys think you're going to just continue to make threes? You're not going to continue to make threes. Gabe Vincent, dude's handsome, but is he really going to be that much of a player? Do you think he's thinking about the bag too much? Is he thinking about money too much? Oh, Udonis Haslem, he's been around forever. Oh, but he doesn't play. Nobody really gets it. What does he have out there anyway? Pat Riley, he's been in the quarterfinals. Oh, we're tired of the Heat. We're tired of the Heat culture. We're tired of that thing. We've heard all the noise, dude. We've heard enough of it. We've heard enough of the nonsense from everybody. In all respectfully to Denver. But the fact that they're trying to throw altitude in your face when you already have one of the best players, if not the best player on the planet, I was like, what does this say about your confidence, dude? You got Jamal Murray. I mean, Bubble Murray, he's back, dude. Like, what are you guys? You're trying to throw in air? That's what you need to throw at the Heat? Altitude? Look, thin air, sea level, humidity, Instagram ass models on the beach, whatever distractions you want to throw into this series. Miami has been cutting through these playoffs with a purpose, dude. And Denver, good for you guys with your little cute, runs all there. We beat an old man in LeBron James. Fantastic. A broken Phoenix team with people just by the wayside. Chris Paul got hurt, shocking. The Timberwolves, they were reliable this year. So I saw this was a debate, like, who had the tougher road to the final? I thought I was like, is this a joke? It's answered. By record, it's answered. And then the people want to be like, Denver. It's they've owned the Heat in the regular season. I'm like, you mean the regular season that the Heat, you guys keep throwing 8 seed in their face and they've just flipped all of that stuff. So respectfully in this series. Great, dude. But as nice as this run has been for Denver, maybe they'll be back. I don't know. Maybe they will get a nice little run ski here and they will get their respect. But respect will only take them so far. Heat in 6. Formula will be taking home court advantage in the first 2, as it has been in all of these series for Miami. They do not fret the road, and then they take care of business and close things out on their home floor and raise the Larry O'Brien trophy.